the meeting to order. Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton.
Here.
Trustee Dodge.
Here.
Trustee Calandrello. Here. Trustee Ely.
Here.
Trustee Katsinas.
Here.
Trustee Malani.
Here.
Mayor Pico.
Here.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of October 5th, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Committee of the Whole, October 5th, 2020.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello. Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Orland Park Heroes Banner Program.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to recommend to the Village Board approving the Orland Park Honorary Heroes Banner Program.
Second. Are there any questions or comments? Actually, first, George, could you explain the program?
Yes, Daryl from the Orland Park Veterans Commission has a few words on this program.
A few words on the program. Good evening, Daryl Wertheim, Village of Orland Park Program Assistant, Veterans Program Assistant. Late last summer, I received an email from an Orland Park resident with a request to consider a Veterans Orland Park Veterans Banner Program. This resident referred to a current veterans program currently available in New Lenox, Illinois. Veterans banners would feature an Orland Park veterans picture, date and branch of service. Banner size will be determined, would be attached and displayed on Orland Park streetlight poles. The veterans banner's idea seemed to fit Orland Park's decades of honoring veterans. I passed the information along to the mayor and the village manager for a review. A meeting was scheduled October 7th, 2020 to discuss feasibility. The meeting was attended by many village department heads. Results of the meeting were positive. It was determined that the most likely street and its 47 light poles was Ravinia Avenue, 143rd Street to 151st Street. Public Works mentioned that Orland Park has the necessary hangers needed to hang the banners. Residents of Orland Park would make a donation and sponsor a veterans banner. Banners would be on display from spring to fall each year. When removed, they would be given back to the donor. The Orland Park Veterans Banner Program idea was rolled out at this month's Orland Park Veterans Commission meeting, October 8, 2020. All attending members liked the idea and wanted to move forward. With the board's approval, we will begin creating a registration and ordering form. We would prefer to use a local vendor to design and produce the veterans banners. Our hope would be to begin reaching out to the community early 2021 with the first veterans banners raised spring of 2021. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments? So everyone knows, George, confirm this. The proceeds of this will go to our veterans programs, correct?
That's correct. By using a local, we're going to use a local banner maker. It's going to increase the proceeds for the Veterans Commission. So we'll create the application in-house. We'll use our website for where people can sign up for it, and then we'll use a local banner company. And so all of the proceeds will go to the Veterans Commission.
Great idea.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Healy?
George, how much will is there a price on it yet or a range of?
Yeah, so right now it's somewhere around $67 per banner to actually produce, and then the cost to sell the program is going to be $150. So that $150 is very similar to other programs. So there is a national Hometown Heroes program. That's their cost. That's what they marketed at, $150. So in this one, it would mirror that, except that all of the proceeds would go to the commission.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton?
And this program is strictly for current or past Orland Park residents only? That's what the backup said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a lot of veterans in Orland Park, and so there's only 47 poles. So we're going to start out with it's just an Orland Park program for now. If we ever get to the point where we have capacity, then we bring it back to the board to see if we want to open it up.
Any other comments? Call the roll.
Sorry, Mayor Pico.
Trustee Dodge.
George, you said round numbers in answer to Trustee Healy's question about $150.
Yes.
So we don't have to settle this tonight, but I'd like to recommend that we take a look at if, for example, you have someone who's in tough financial circumstances, but they'd really like to honor their grandfather or their, a relative, that we find a way to, under the right circumstances, that it's not exactly $150. I don't want the price to cover our cost to be an impediment to doing the program is where I'm going. I don't have a solution for you, but that's the recommendation.
Got it.
And second, I've seen this in a number of places. I think we all have, right? And I've seen it in New York State, where in a lot of smaller towns, they line the entire main street with these kind of things for a limited time. So I certainly would be amenable to expanding this to some of our thoroughfares, for example, like Ravinia or 94th, 151st, et cetera. LaGrange is a different animal. It's a main commercial corridor, but I'd be open to expanding this in the future if you have that kind of demand.
If the demand is there, right? Yep.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Getzinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrella?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Enterprise Resourcing Planning Software Review.
I'll entertain a motion to recommend that, or to the Committee of the Whole, to provide consensus to negotiate a contract with Tyler Technologies for procurement of their software and services to implement the Muni's ERP system from the Village of Orland Park. The fully negotiated and reviewed contract will be brought forward at a future Board of Trustees meeting for approval.
So move.
Second.
Any comments?
Are we going to, Mayor Pico, are we going to have a
Trustee Dodge.
staff going to provide a report on what their findings are?
Sure.
So, Mayor and Village Board, David Buick and Kevin Wachtel have a PowerPoint presentation. Dave, if you want to go first?
Sure. Good evening, committee members. Would like to provide you with an update on where we're at with our ERP strategy, and we're seeking committee consensus on our recommendations.
Sorry.
Just a review, an ERP is kind of designed around a common database, and it ensures that information that is used in it is standardized and is based upon common definitions and user experiences. Simply put, it's a vehicle for integrating people, processes, and technologies. And it is the main foundation of our city government from an IT standpoint and application standpoint. It's really the foundation and the nervous system of our organization. When you look into acquiring an ERP, if I may use the metaphor, it's a marriage, long-term marriage. And so you've got to be very strategic and very thoughtful when you decide to jump into or sign a contract for a new ERP system. And I think we've done that. This is our second marriage, is our current ERP system, which was acquired in 2011. Before that, we had an HTE, then it became SunGard. It was an AS400-based system. And currently, we spent about $500,000 on investment with Enterprise. And it contains, as you see, financials, cash receipts, CIS is really your utility billing, citizen access, payroll, employee self-service, which is timesheets, and community development. Unfortunately, this marriage has been a little rocky, and we've run into a number of issues. There's 5 elements that really make for a really good ERP if they're satisfied. And being functional is a primary one. It needs to be easy to use and intuitive. Unfortunately, Enterprise has been everything but. As it says, it's been very cumbersome. There's really no integration with other applications, and it requires a lot of third-party tools. Staff are using spreadsheets, access databases, third-party software programs in order to fill out their portfolio. It also, excuse me, it has to be sustainable. It has to be a financially stable company. So sometimes there may be a trade-off required where you may have to take a cut on functionality in order to go with a company that has been around a long time, that is financially sound, rather than, you know, an e-company that is a startup or what have you. It has to be affordable. It has to meet the requirements, but also, you know, you got to be able to pay for it, and then the cost has got to be sustainable. Enterprise is not. Enterprise, why on the ticket price it looks affordable, it has been extremely costly, requiring staff again to acquire third-party applications. There's been significant downtime, which has really hurt staff. You can ask Chief Mitchell about the time that his staff spends processing payroll, waiting sometimes 30 minutes to process a timesheet. Those types of inefficiencies cost a lot of productivity as well as money, as PD has encountered a lot of overtime because they had to process payroll twice a month in that fashion. It also has to be scalable. And you know, be able to perform when multiple users are on it concurrently, and Enterprise has not. Actually, it seems to be getting worse. The more people we have on the same time, everybody kind of holds their breath when it's payroll, because you know, it will crash or lock up or just take forever to get things accomplished in it. It has to be adaptable. There has to be good R&D investment on the technology. The company has got to invest wisely. It's got to be modular. They got to come out with new technology and new functionality, because as we all know, IT is changing quickly. It also has to be secure. That, you know, cybersecurity landscape is changing, you know, all the time, and it has to be constantly updated to address those technology issues. Enterprise has been inadequate in that regard. There's really been very minimal improvement, new functionality, new technology that has come out.
So a technical term here, Enterprise is a piece of crap?
That would be a correct assessment.
Okay.
So, but we weren't ready to give up on this marriage yet. We went into counseling, and we took remediation steps to try to see if we could salvage something out of Enterprise. And so when I first got here, we had a crash in July of last year, and we brought in a specialist, a database specialist, who rebuilt the database, ran a bunch of maintenance on it, and stabilized the patient for the time being. Unfortunately, it crashed again in October, and we had to do a complete rebuild of the entire database and applications. We've also contracted with this person to perform regular database maintenance. We've upgraded the latest modules, and we've simplified the workflows and work with departments to simplify their payroll processes in order to try to make things more efficient. Unfortunately, those have resulted in very marginal improvement. So we decided probably a separation was in order, and so we formed an ERP strategy task force, and we evaluated what our options are. A typical option with a municipality is to go out for RFP. To develop an RFP for an ERP system could be an 8 to 12-month process to go through that. Those RFPs can be this thick. and then to go through the whole evaluation process. We felt why that has some benefits to it, we would most likely end up in the same spot we are tonight, with the same two vendors facing off against each other. And that would be significant cost, time, and effort, especially when things need to be remediated quickly to do that. So we started researching other vendor systems. We brought in 2 vendors for demonstrations. We performed reference checks with Northbrook, with Joliet, Naperville. We also evaluated their cost proposals, and we did a presentation before the Technology Commission. A quick look at a glance at the municipal ERP software market. Tyler Technologies has about 4,000 clients just for their Munis product. That doesn't include EnerGov and some of their other products. They are the market leader in the municipal space. BSNA has about 1,000 clients. They're primarily focused in the Midwest. Central Square is they have quite a few clients, 7,500 clients, but they're really a 2018 merger of 4 companies, one of which that we used to have before we went to Enterprise, which is HTE SunGard. So the cautionary tale there is I don't know if we want to jump into and piece a bunch of different products together to try to make it to work. And then what else we have here? We've got Municipal Software, Inc., MSI. They're a very small company. They only have 100 clients. They're no community development module, which we desperately need, and they're primarily targeted at very small municipalities. And then there's Springbrook, which was purchased by Acela recently, and they have no community development module per se. Also having implemented software that was recently purchased by Acela. They stripped the company, and the implementation was about 2.5 times longer than it should have been. So that's the cautionary tale there. Also, I believe George and Greg have experience with Springbrook, and that experience was not positive. Okay, so we looked at Tyler and we looked at BSNA, and the Tyler proposal, the components of it, you know, to go to another metaphor, there's a lot of meat on the bone with Tyler. Why you try to compare apples to apples, it really isn't a fair comparison, because Tyler, their modules are a lot more robust, have a lot more functionality to them than BSNA. So their proposal includes your financials, your human capital management with payroll, time and attendance, and advanced scheduling, revenue management with cashiering, utility billing, et cetera, productivity, data analytics, business intelligence, their EnerGov community development module, which we are currently licensed for. Their proposal includes that. The costs are consolidated in that, as well as their enterprise asset management module, which we're currently using, and the 311 citizen request system, which we went live with internally recently. The BSNA proposal components, financial management, so they just provide a very limited menu, not a lot of meat on the bone. Their software requires a refresh. It's antiquated, and so they just give you the basics. Financial management, personal management, we got to buy a third-party product called NovaTime to provide the functionality we need in advanced scheduling for public safety and so forth. So it would require working with another integrator, another company to implement that product. Community development and BSNA Online, which is their online portal, is not as robust as Tyler's. It also, they charge a $2 per application fee per application, so that's on top of their licensing for that. So just an illustration, this is not scientific or statistical in nature. It's just to show the difference between the two, Tyler and BSNA. On the top level of Tyler, you'll notice future phase 2 type modules. They have a lot of other stuff that we decided not yet to purchase because of financial reasons and implementation. We got to get the basics in first, but those future items include Socrata Open Finance, which opens up your financials to residents. It includes Tyler Payments, which is a payment processing similar to Paymentus or the state's payment system. And while we're under contract with Paymentus, I believe until 23, and this would be something worth looking at because it integrates directly into their product and we wouldn't need a third-party product. And then they also have a recreation module that is worth at least taking a look at to see if that might work for us. Tyler also has plan review as part of their EnerGov product. That's something that BSNA is lacking. Excellent. So our recommendation, as we go through those 5 elements plus an extra one, is from a functionality standpoint, Tyler offers more modules and a more modern platform. BSNA, we asked for specifications, hardware specs, and the software they gave us was out of date. So Microsoft Database 2008, SQL Database 2008 is end of life. Windows 7 and Windows XP are out of life. So that kind of gives you an indication that they're not where they need to be. Present investments, we've already invested almost $600,000 on EnerGov and EAM 311. And to go to a different product, we may have to abandon that. Or if we decide to go with BSNA, their community development module, and they don't offer the functionality that these products do, we would have to keep this product alongside BSNA, and we'd end up in much the similar situation that we're in today. Sustainability, Tyler is a largely publicly traded company. They're not going anywhere, and they're not likely to be bought out. The concern with BSNA is they're a small, privately owned company that needs more capital to rewrite their software, and they are primed for either being sold or bought out or a venture capital firm to come in and totally redo it. So to go and implement their product, we may end up redoing and putting in a new ERP system in a year or two. Scalable. Tyler Munis is primarily targeted towards mid-sized to large municipalities. Orland Park is just right there, right on the edge there. We're too big to be small, and we're much smaller than a Naperville or a Schaumburg or Joliet, but still we need the same type of functionality. So it is important that BSNA just doesn't climb to that market, and Tyler can handle that for us. It needs to be adaptable, and Tyler has a very large portfolio of applications and functionality. They do updates on a regular basis, a major update annually. They're constantly innovating and updating their products. And then lastly, affordable. When you look at the ticket price for any ERP system, it's kind of breathtaking. But as Kevin will show you, over a 5-year period, Tyler really makes sense from a financial standpoint. And with that, I'll have Kevin walk you through the financials there.
So what we've presented up here are cost comparisons for both the Tyler Munis product and BSNA. And we looked at not just the implementation cost, but as Dave mentioned, the annual maintenance cost, projected maintenance cost for covering the first 5 years. With Tyler Munis, the startup cost is about $1.3 million with all of the modules that we are looking at purchasing, as well as implementation, business process improvement, all of those things to really get us to where we want to be once we have the software in place and functioning in our organization. Then from there on, we would incorporate the maintenance cost of Energov 311, that type of thing, and the annual maintenance cost would be about $126,000 per year, kept flat for the first years 1 and 2, and an escalator capped at about 3% for the remaining 3 years. With BSNA, there are fewer modules and the startup cost is a little bit less. We would also need to buy NovaTime, as Dave mentioned. So the startup cost of just under $950,000 includes the purchase and mobilization for NovaTime, as well as the BSNA modules that we have. In addition to that, we would still need to maintain, the BSNA proposal does not include that business process improvement component. And that, I think, is very important when we're rolling out a new software system. We want to make sure that our processes are as clean as they can be. They're as nimble as they can be. So if we were to have that service, we would need to contract out if we were to go the route of BSNA. And the total with those is just over $1 million as a startup cost. On the annual maintenance side of things, with BSNA, we would still need to pay maintenance for our current Tyler products, the 311 and the Energov and the community development programs. So when you do that, the annual cost to maintain BSNA, NovaTime, and the existing Tyler products is actually higher operating cost each year. So when you add that in, over 5 years, the BSNA choice to go with BSNA would be about $300,000 more, about $2.1 million to go down that route, implementing the multiple different types of programs. So the startup is more, but over the long term, Tyler Munis, even with a wider variety of modules that they have, the operating cost, the ongoing cost is lower. And as time goes on, that gap grows, and the BSNA side definitely costs more. I'll turn it over to Dave to finish up.
I have a question about the numbers. So on the Tyler Energov 311. Tyler Energov 311, that's included if we buy the whole module? That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Whereas it's a net new cost if we have to keep it if we go with BSNA.
It would be in addition to our software cost.
So that's why it's not shown under Munis, because it's included if we buy the module.
It would be rolled into that cost, yes.
So where do we go from here? Our next steps, we'd like the Committee of the Whole to provide us a consensus to continue forward and negotiate a contract with Tyler. We also will be putting in a budgetary item in the FY21 budget for replacement of the ERP. And alongside that is our hardware. We want to host this system on premise. The reasons for doing that are we've got more control over the application. There's been security concerns with hosted applications recently. Also, we feel we just can control the upgrades and the management of it. When you go with software as a service, all we can do pretty much are submit tickets and send emails and call people to fix things. And from an IT standpoint, that's frustrating. It's also frustrating for our end users. And so we feel by hosting it on premise, we can have it more secure and more sustainable. Because as you know, when there's an emergency and there's things going on in the village, people call us. And so our systems have got to remain online and be sustainable. So that hardware is end of life that our current enterprise system is riding on. We need more storage. This item needs to needs to happen, or hopefully will be approved regardless, because if we stay with Enterprise, we need it. If we go with BSNA, we need it. And if we go with Tyler Energov, we need it. So it's, we've had 3 failures on the motherboards on that system. And then finally, we'll be putting forth a RFP for consulting services to assist us in this project. ERP systems are probably the most difficult technology projects to undertake because of their complexity, the number of components involved, your end users, your customers, et cetera, and they require a lot of effort and a lot of resources behind it.
What's the all-in cost? We saw the 1.8, but I'm assuming that doesn't include, that just includes bullet 1. So what are the costs?
Yes, so the bullets, so what the bullet 1, that's exactly it. Bullet 2 and I'm sorry, bullet 3 and bullet 4, they're still being fine-tuned, and those will be presented as part of the budget capital discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a cost estimate on the hardware with me, and I believe it comes in at, hang on a second here, $289,000. So that has to be done. It's my recommendation that be done regardless of what your decision is this evening. But that is the hardware cost there. Consulting services, we'll have to see based upon the RFP what we get there. But that's probably close to 6 figures, I would think.
Mayor Pico?
Trustee Dodge.
So I understand your arguments for on-prem versus a SaaS solution. I'm not all the way there yet in terms of the conclusions you've reached. That's going to have explicit costs and trade-offs. Do we have those numbers?
Yeah, we've got a proposal from Tyler to go software as a service, and it was roughly 3 times the cost to go. I mean, we can get you the exact numbers if you like, but the cost is extremely expensive. And so you're looking at almost $400,000 a year for a software as a service.
Did they justify that?
Well, they claim that they're taking on all the utility and hardware cost and support. That's typically the argument for going software as a service.
So I take it then, so Tyler is running its own server farms as opposed to a little-known company like Amazon or Microsoft or Google?
Yes, they are.
Got it.
And they've talked about going to Amazon or Microsoft Azure down the road, but they're not quite there yet.
Well, it's disappointing on them, but got it. I guess that, my question then about the fully loaded costs is there will be consultants. There will, to get to the level of service, the SLA you're proposing to the village has a lot of costs that need to be layered into this decision. It's the server, it's the staff, and it's the consultant. So I guess I'd like to see it fully baked into the software is going to cost us X, and it seems like you guys have made a sound recommendation because Enterprise has been in trouble for a long time. Got it. Let's see the fully loaded costs.
And we'll bring that back to you when we're ready with a contract.
Thank you.
Mayor Pico?
Trustee Healy.
Over the weekend, I was looking at just looking at this myself. I noticed that in the 8K, which is an SEC pronouncement for the company, that there was a disclosure of a security incident at Tyler where they had a ransomware thing less than a month ago, and it's significant enough that they put on the first page of their notice. I would just recommend just exploring just some caution with them about how they've how this happened and how they reacted to it, and I hope that you'd be considerate of what it means for the future, just to be cautious with that.
Yes, we've been in conversations with Tyler over that incident and with one of their regional vice presidents, as well as their security officer there regarding what transpired. Granted, we don't get all the details, but we get enough. They're addressing it. It was a ransomware incident that hit 3 of their development servers and their telephone system. They took some other things offline as a preventative measure, such as their website And then they took off their deployment server that communities use to upgrade their software. So they took those offline as a preventative measure. But at this time, no customer data was compromised in that ransomware incident. And that's, another reason why an on-premise solution we're a little more comfortable with, because these types of incidents are increasing, they're not decreasing.
Other questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Malani.
Thank you for putting this together. Actually, this is good to see. I mean, I'm thinking back to when I was on the Technology Commission. We were talking, I was coming in on the back of, hey, we've got these great new, the work order management, enterprise asset management, all of this stuff was coming in because we're going to drive efficiencies. Well, then I end up here, and then we find out that we have the issues with enterprise and things like that. So I really appreciate taking a look at the core and being able to focus on fixing that, because I think we've made the investments in those other products. This is where we're going to really drive that efficiency out of them, because we're barely scratching the surface of what we're doing with work order management and asset management today. But by bringing this in, we can really do more. And I think that's where we're going to see our bang for our buck. And I do agree with Trustee Dodge. Someone write that down. But I want to see a full cost on this as well. But I understand, we kind of have to know what direction we're heading first, before we get those costs. But thank you for putting this together. This was great.
Any other questions? So I have a couple. What do we anticipate the implementation time of this is? Because we know this is long overdue, and I get to sit here every day and hear the complaints about enterprise. So I'm probably a little bit more familiar even than the rest of the trustees, just because I kind of live it with staff over the last 3.5 years. So how fast are we going to be able to implement this?
Well, there's some things that have to take place. Obviously, the contract negotiation is significant. Once that gets done, we need to bid out the hardware because we'd like to put this system not on our existing hardware, but on the new hardware platform and get it up and running there. So there will be some time there. Again, it's kind of a moving target, but typically these implementations take, 18 to 24 months. So we will get started as soon as we can, but there's got to be a lot of pieces in place from a hardware standpoint in order to put it in place, and then a lot of planning and coordination to go on, because everybody wants their module first. And so we got to see what's reasonable and go from there. So obviously we'd like to get started, and we would in the planning phases as soon as it's approved, and go from there.
And how about, what's the plan going to be for data migration from enterprise to Tyler?
They have data conversion included in their proposal. So we've gone over that with Kevin and HR and what have you, to make sure that the right data is being migrated according to open, the retention on those records and what have you, and what we need to do to run our business. So all those things are baked into the proposal. And I'd be happy to get you a copy of it if you like, and we can go over it in detail if you like.
And then lastly, to your point of different modules, it's going to take time to migrate them all. I think I would certainly like to see, I'm sure the board would feel the same way, is when you have a plan for what modules and when, we'd like to see that plan and understand the rationale for why you're doing what and when.
Sure.
So that we make sure that the right thing, we make sure that the right things are getting migrated first.
I think the expectation with a project of this size is that we'd be coming back to you with regular updates.
Great.
Where we're at in the project, what we've done, where we're going, what's next.
Okay. Any other comments?
And just the last thing, we could speed this along. We could try to make this faster. We're going to actually do this right off the onset. So the Tyler proposal includes process improvement consulting. So we're going to have that in part of that, and then a separate separate project manager, independent consultant who will be our advocate, who is going to be our coordinator, is also going to be there. Having gone through an ERP implementation, everyone thinks they can do it in-house. Nobody has enough time for it. It's half done, and then it becomes very frustrating. We're actually going to have somebody that's going to be our advocate who's going to be here for that. So we are going to, when this gets done, we're going to do it right. We're going to do it right the first time. We're going to take some time, spend some time on this, but we're going to get it to where it's a very robust product.
Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye. Okay, so this is, like I said, long overdue. So anybody here to speak? Like it. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye. Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye. And I'd like everyone just to sit for just a second. We got about 20 minutes to the next meeting. But Trustee Healy had talked about artwork for our board. So we came up with potentially our first piece of artwork.
Okay, I know what this is.
So for those of you who would like to...
It's very inspiring, I think.
It's very inspiring. And for those of you who would like a deck of playing cards with that on it, I'm sure that Trustee Healy could get that for you.
They're at the gift shop at work.
Where's the Calistoga wagon?
What's that?
Where's the Calistoga wagon so the pioneers, we can head west
Well,
following that
this is
uniform?
George Washington pose, so that's before the wagons even.
It's,
You know, I actually think this is better than
Crossing
potentially
the
the
Delaware.
pictures of the trustees on the water towers like I argued for.
just to correct, it's Prince Albert, okay, not the...
I think there's at least one of those trustees on a water tower floating around, too. So I'll see everybody in about 17 minutes.
Also, there is cake in the boardroom for Trustee Calandrello and for Trustee Fenton. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday for both of you?
Yeah.
And for Zeus.
Okay, for everyone now.